Imagine that you were talking to a group of new tech grads, and these tech grads are like top of their class. They have perfect GPAs, they could go anywhere, and you ask them, excuse me, students, if you could work for any company in the world, what company would it be? Now I've got two questions for you. What company do you think they said, and why was it Google? Now, I am kidding, kind of. Google is obviously a very innovative company. They are a destination employer, which is part of the reason I found it so interesting this weekend when I was reading an article, and it was 6 things that a VP at Google looks for when they are interviewing for their team. Now, that VP was Bonita Stewart. She is the Vice President of Global Partnerships, and I thought to myself, man, this would be such a helpful article if you were interviewing with Bonita. But the more I read, the more I started to think, you know what, this is just helpful if you're interviewing with Google, period. Because a lot of the values, a lot of the things she looks for, it became very obvious to me that these are a lot of the characteristic traits and things that any hiring manager at Google would look for. Today, I'm gonna show you what those 6 things are and how you can go about demonstrating them during a Google interview. Let's go. Hi, my name is Ben White with Ben Talks Talent. I've got 11 years experience in interviewing, hiring, talent acquisition, recruiting, and team building, and I am passionate about using my experience to help you become the best interviewer possible and land your next job. If you are looking for interview tips, interview strategies, interview question and answers, or interview hacks, guess what? You have arrived at the right place. Do me a favor, take 3 seconds and hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. That way you never miss one of my videos. And if you're watching this and at any point you feel like, wow, that was a good tip, do me a favor and hit that like button. It is quick, it is easy, it is free, and it tells YouTube that my videos do not suck and that more people should see them. So with that being said, let me jump into the video. One of the things that I thought was really interesting that Bonita said right away was she gave kind of 4 characteristics that she's always kind of looking for. Now, there are more things that I'm gonna kind of go through in terms of things you can specifically do, but she is looking for concentration, culture fit, courage, and character. As she's going through, those are the things that she's specifically scanning for as you give every single answer. So it's important that you demonstrate this. Generally speaking, when you're interviewing for a company, go to their website, go to their About Us section, go down and read about their culture, read about their values, internalize those things, and as you're answering their interview questions, try to weave little components of that into your answers. So anyway, those are 4 things that she looks for just from the jump. Now, one of the things I thought was really interesting, and this is kind of the first tip, is when she is asking people questions about their background, about their history, she is looking for transferable skills. So things that you've done in prior jobs that would be applicable to other jobs. She's always looking for it. When you're giving answers about your past, your accomplishments, your achievements, she wants to look for things that she goes, okay, this isn't one for one, but clearly this person has a skill that would be useful over here. So whenever you're answering questions and you're talking with someone at Google, you need to be thinking in terms of not just what did I do, but what did I do that could be applied to any situation? And it might even make sense for you to sprinkle some of that in there. When you're answering questions, be like, you know, this was a really interesting growth experience for me. And what I realized when I completed the project was this wasn't just something I could use in this project, but rather it was something that I could probably apply to a bunch of different scenarios throughout my career. Just doing that lets them know that you're thinking in terms of transferable skills. It's a great way to demonstrate it. The next thing that she says she looks for is an employee, or a candidate rather, who asks a lot of questions. Who is it? Every employer wants you to ask questions because when you don't, it makes you look either 1, unprepared, or 2, uninterested. So you should never do that. I'm gonna link in the comments, in the description box, I made a video called 27 great questions you should ask in your next interview. If you can't find like 10 great questions there to ask, then I don't know what to tell you. They're like literally 27 great questions. It is important. Hiring managers want you to ask questions. It shows you're interested, and Bonita specifically really wants you to ask questions. The next thing she looks for, and I found this so interesting, is she's looking for people who have accomplishments, but they don't make it all about themselves. She doesn't just want someone who's like, I did this, I did this. She wants someone who says, I did this, and occasionally goes, you know, we as a team learned a lot. So she's looking for that good blend between I learned this, I accomplished this, and we as a team. One of the things that I see people make that's a mistake is they only talk in terms of we. If you do that, a certain percentages of hiring managers are going to think, well, yeah, that's what the team did, but what did you do? But if you talk only about me, that's gonna make it seem like you're not a team player. So one of the important balances to strike when you're interviewing in general is to have a good mix of I and a good mix of we. The next thing Bonita looks for when she's interviewing someone is someone who can own up to their mistakes. And I love this because as someone who interviews people all the time, I can tell you, nobody is looking for an infallible candidate who is perfect and has never done anything wrong. That is nobody. But what we are looking for is people who don't make catastrophic mistakes, but when they make small mistakes, they own up to them, they work quickly to fix them, and they're authentic about it. You know, we all make mistakes. There's no reason to hide them. You can be honest about them in your interview as long as you didn't lose the lesson. The next thing that she says she looks for in interviews, and I love this one too, I think it's really important, is personal agility. So what does that mean? That means if something goes wrong or things change, you have the agility, you have the flexibility to not be stressed, but rather move to that problem. At Google, they are focused on solving big problems and making highly innovative products and services, and they can't take someone who is going to be really bogged down if things don't go their way. They're looking for people who are agile. So for you, you want to make sure that when you're giving answers to their questions, you're showing your ability to pivot. And pivot with ease and comfort. And the reality is they're probably gonna ask you questions about it. I have not done a full debrief breakdown on Google interviews. I will at some point, but I guarantee you they ask a question somewhere along the lines of, tell me about a time when you were working on a project and the parameters switched dramatically quickly. How did you respond to that? They'll ask you something like that. And what they're looking for is for you to be okay with that and for you to respond in a way that is emblematic of Google's culture. Lastly, what Bonita looks for in a candidate is somebody who works well with others. And quite frankly, who doesn't? I gotta tell you, as somebody who works with a bunch of companies across all industries, you know, I work in machining, I work in biotech, I work in IT. I have clients across all those spaces, across the entire United States and some global. And nobody ever says to me, Ben, go find me a terrible teammate. Nobody does that because nobody wants that. The reality is that every employer wants someone who is not going to disrupt the chemistry and the balance that they have struck when they built their team. Hiring managers don't just hire a bunch of people, they build teams. And if they think you are going to come in there and disrupt that team, they are not going to want to hire you. So while she looks for this, generally speaking, nobody wants to hire bad teammates. So she might ask you a question like, tell me about a time that you had to go out of your way to help a teammate when it wasn't your job. Have a great answer for that. Be able to talk to how you were willing to do it and how you were happy to do it. You know why? Because that's what a good teammate would do. All right, well, there you have it. That is everything. I hope you like this video. I always find it so fascinating when you find these people who hire at the highest levels of the best companies and the things they look for. Because if you can find a way to demonstrate these different traits and specific features of your personality, not only will you exceed in interviews with Google, you will succeed in interviews everywhere. Thank you for taking the time. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Good luck in your next interview. You've got this.